Anger. It's a powerful thing. Sometimes it feels like it's the only thing keeping you alive, driving you forward, but in the end, it consumes everything. My name is Hank Wilson, and I'm here in this court-mandated anger management group because people think I have a problem. Me? I think the problem is everyone else. But if you want to know why I'm here, I'll tell you. Strap in, it's a hell of a story. It started with a bachelor party. My younger brother was getting married, and we wanted to send him off in style. We rented out a suite, brought in strippers, and partied hard for over 24 hours. The cops even showed up at one point because of the noise. It was wild, sure, but I made sure to follow the rules. I didn't cross any lines, and I told my wife, Amanda, everything. Every single detail. I didn't want her hearing about it secondhand and assuming the worst. For a while, things seemed fine. Life went back to normal. I worked long hours on the docks, hauling fish and swapping stories with the guys. Amanda and I were raising our 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. Everything felt solid like it always had. Then one night, I came home from work, sweaty and tired as hell, ready to shower and call it a day. The hot water felt good on my aching muscles, and I wasn't thinking about anything in particular as I stepped out. That's when it hit me. Literally. It felt like a truck plowed into me, but I was in my bathroom, so that didn't make sense. My vision blurred as I hit the floor, my head spinning. I tried to get up, but my body wouldn't cooperate. Slowly, my eyes adjusted, and I saw 2 figures standing in front of me, Amanda and her sister, both staring down at me. "You cheated on me," Amanda spat. Her voice was icy, her expression colder. "What the hell are you talking about?" I tried to say, but when I tried to move, I realized I couldn't. My legs and arms were bound to a chair with duct tape. Not just a little tape, layers of it. Tight enough that I couldn't even shift an inch. "Let me go," I growled. "I will," Amanda replied, her voice dripping with venom. "After I'm done with you." Before I could argue, she walked out with her sister, leaving me there. Taped to a chair. Naked. Furious. For the next hour, I sat in silence, fuming and trying to figure out what the hell was going on. I hadn't cheated. I hadn't done anything wrong. But when the door opened again, my heart sank. Amanda wasn't alone. 5 guys walked in behind her, guys I knew from the bachelor party. The 5 men stood there, smirking like they'd just hit the jackpot. I recognized every single one of them. Mark, my best friend for over 20 years, led the pack. He was the best man at my wedding. I named my son after him. I trusted him with everything. Now, he was standing there with a grin that made my blood boil. I didn't even have a chance to speak before Amanda shoved a ball gag into my mouth. "You shouldn't have cheated on me," she said, glaring down at me like I was dirt under her shoe. Mark crouched in front of me, his face inches from mine. "Hank, I didn't want it to come to this," he said, his tone almost mocking. "But you brought it on yourself." The bastard knew I hadn't cheated. He knew. What happened next was 3 hours of pure humiliation. Amanda and those 5 men took their turns right in front of me, making sure I couldn't look away. I tried to scream through the gag, tried to thrash against the tape, but it was no use. I was trapped. When they were done, Amanda disappeared into the bathroom to shower, leaving me alone with the others. Mark leaned in close again, his voice low. "You know, Hank, I always wanted her. I just couldn't pass up the chance. I know we're not going to be friends after this, but hey, sometimes you gotta take what you want." I didn't say a word. I couldn't. I just stared at him, my jaw clenched so tight it felt like my teeth would crack. "Let it go, Hank," Mark said, patting me on the shoulder like he was doing me a favor. "Because if you don't, someone's gonna get hurt." Then he hit me, hard, across the face with something metal. The world went black again. When I came to, I was in a hospital bed. My wrists were raw from where the tape had dug into my skin, and my head throbbed. Amanda was sitting in a chair nearby, her head tilted back as she dozed off. I signaled a nurse quietly, pointing to my wrists. She frowned but nodded, stepping out of the room. A few minutes later, 2 police officers walked in. That's when Amanda woke up. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice groggy. I turned to the officers. My name is Hank Wilson. About 7 hours ago, my wife tied me up, invited 5 men into our house, and let them assault me while I was gagged and bound. All because she thought I cheated on her, which I didn't. I can give you the names of every man involved. 2 of them are cops. So, if you're not going to do your job, I'll go straight to the state attorney's office." Amanda's face went pale. "Hank, you're lying," she stammered. "You'll pay for this." The officer looked at me, then back at Amanda. "Ma'am, please stand up," he said. "What? You can't arrest me. I didn't do anything." "You have the right to remain silent," the officer began as he cuffed her. I rattled off the names of everyone involved, making sure they knew exactly who they were dealing with. Watching Amanda being led away in handcuffs should have felt satisfying, but all I felt was numb. For the next week, I stayed in the hospital, planning my next moves. My mind raced constantly, flipping between rage and despair. I kept coming back to one thought: if they thought they could destroy me, they were wrong. I was going to make them pay, every single one of them. The first step was securing my finances. I went to the bank as soon as I was discharged and withdrew as much as I could. That's when the cashier informed me Amanda had tried to access my accounts. She was furious when she found out her name wasn't on any of them. She even brought her lawyer back, but the result was the same. Those accounts were mine and mine alone. Next, I went to my brother. He had been at the bachelor party too and knew exactly what went down. When I told him what happened, he was stunned. "Hank, they did what?" he asked, his voice shaking. I explained every horrifying detail. His wife, who was also close to Amanda, jumped in, accusing me of lying. "You're making this up," she said, crossing her arms. My brother turned on her. "Hank doesn't lie. If you're going to side with Amanda after hearing this, then maybe you shouldn't be here." She stormed out, leaving her wedding ring behind. My brother didn't even flinch. "Let's go find a lawyer," he said. Friday arrived, and everything was set in motion. At exactly 9 a.m., a realtor placed a "for sale" sign in the front yard of my house. Just as planned, Amanda returned home from her morning commute and saw it. She erupted in anger, demanding answers from the realtor. But there was no debate to be had. The house was mine, and I had every legal right to sell it. At work, Amanda faced another blow when a process server arrived at her desk with a large envelope containing divorce papers and a civil lawsuit. Her colleagues watched as she broke down in tears, overwhelmed by the chaos unraveling around her. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed incessantly with calls. Wives of the men involved were desperate for explanations, while the men themselves left enraged threats. Calmly, I explained the truth to the wives, recounting every detail of what Amanda and their husbands had done. For the threatening calls, I simply laughed, jotting each one down for the record. The civil lawsuits against the 5 men and Amanda totaled millions in damages, but the legal consequences didn't stop there. The trial for the criminal charges loomed, casting a heavy shadow over everyone involved. The day before the trial, Mark, the so-called ringleader, tried to confront me in a parking lot. His rage boiled over as he lunged at me, intent on retaliation. But his attack was poorly timed. I pulled out my legally registered handgun and fired a shot, striking him in the groin. The wound wasn't fatal, but it was enough to incapacitate him. Security cameras recorded everything, proving my actions were in self-defense. Mark was carted off to the hospital, howling in pain, while I walked away without charges. The trial itself exposed the truth in all its ugliness. The prosecution presented clear evidence, including the bachelor party recordings, which showed that I had never cheated on Amanda. The footage confirmed my every move that night, down to the phone calls I made to check in with her. Amanda's story unraveled as her lies were picked apart. Her claims that I had cheated were revealed to be based solely on Mark's false allegations. Mark's attorney threw her under the bus, claiming she had pursued Mark, not the other way around. The judge showed no mercy. Amanda was sentenced to 8 years in prison for assault, kidnapping, and menacing. Mark received a harsher penalty, 25 years, for his role in orchestrating the assault. The remaining men, seeing how heavily the sentences had fallen, scrambled to accept plea deals, admitting their guilt to avoid the worst outcomes. The once solid foundations of their lives crumbled under the weight of their actions. Careers ended, reputations were destroyed, and their families were left to pick up the pieces. For them, Justice had been served. After the trial, life didn't snap back to normal, but a sense of closure began to take hold. Amanda was gone, serving her prison sentence, and the same was true for Mark and the others. The chaos they'd caused had left a permanent mark on my life, but at least I could finally breathe without feeling the weight of their betrayal. Toby, my brother, and a few close friends were the only constants that helped me rebuild. I focused on my kids, ensuring they felt loved and supported despite everything that had happened. My brother stood by me, cutting ties with anyone who tried to justify Amanda's or Mark's actions. His wife, who had initially sided with Amanda, came back with her tail between her legs, begging for forgiveness. He decided to give her another chance, though it took months for her to earn back his trust. As for Amanda, she started writing me letters from prison. Week after week, they arrived filled with apologies, explanations, and requests to talk. She claimed she had been manipulated, blinded by her anger, and didn't realize the damage she was causing until it was too late. I never responded. Her words felt empty, and I wasn't interested in reopening wounds that were finally starting to heal. Mark's wife, Karen, approached me after his sentencing, pleading for understanding. "You destroyed us," she said, her voice breaking. I didn't argue. "I lost my wife, my friends, and part of my family because of what your husband and Amanda did," I told her. "I understand your pain, but I won't apologize for holding them accountable." Over time, I focused on moving forward. I sold the house Amanda and I had shared, using the proceeds to start fresh. The lawsuits brought financial relief, helping to cover my legal expenses and secure a better future for my children. I stopped chasing revenge because it no longer felt necessary. The people who had wronged me were living with the consequences of their actions, and that was enough. Anger management sessions became a surprising outlet. At first, I resented being there, but as time went on, I realized they weren't about fixing me. They were about making sense of everything I'd been through. Sharing my story with others, even in a room full of strangers, gave me a strange sense of peace. Now, I live with clarity. Life isn't perfect, but it's mine again. The rage that once fueled me has burned out, replaced by a quiet determination to protect what truly matters: my kids, my sanity, and my future. If my story teaches anything, it's that you don't need to burn down your entire world to fight back. Justice has a way of finding people who deserve it. All you have to do is stand your ground and keep moving forward. If this story resonated with you, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more stories about resilience and lessons learned from life's toughest challenges. Let's face them together.